Why can't full frame cameras be used for travel vlogging? Well, I'm here to tell you they can, but the thing is, people always think they're too cumbersome to film with and travel with at the same time. When I consider a camera for travel vlogs, I consider the low light capabilities of it, because when you're traveling, you might not have the same amount of lighting capability as you might have at home, as well as considering how much shallow depth of field you get. On the smaller frame cameras, you get a less shallower depth of field than you do with the full frame. But obviously one of the biggest things you want to think about is portability and size. Well, that's kind of all in the same thing, but portability, you want to see how light it is, how small it is, and how easy it is to just whip it out, take some video, take some photos, and then put it away. So look, I'm not going to beat around the bush with you. I'm going to tell you straight up that I think the Sony ZV-E1 camera is the #1 camera for travel vlogging. I used this for my entire trip in Japan, and I can tell you this was an absolute delight to use. And emphasis on the light in delight. So I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty stats of this camera because you're going to end up looking up that online anyway and compare other cameras, because you're not going to take my word for it, you're just watching this to see what I have to say about it. But I'll tell you, it's super compact and super lightweight. That makes it really great for walking around and not noticing that you're even carrying it. And the quality out of this camera is incredible. And in my opinion, it rivals the high-end cameras. Just look at any of the vlogs on my channel and you will see the quality of this camera. I say this camera because I am filming with it right now. So this camera can film up to 4K 120 frames per second. That means you've got all the levels below that, 60 frames per second, 30, 25, 24, 50 even. I use PAL because I am in Australia, so they have 50, 100, and 25 for me, and I'm very happy with that. It has IBIS, it has an active mode, and a dynamic mode, which crops in a little bit more than you'd expect, I guess, but it is buttery smooth and you don't have to post-produce your footage and put it into Catalyst. They're really amazing software, by the way, if you don't have IBIS in your camera, but you don't even have to mess with that fact when you have the ZV-E1. You just plop it straight into your timeline and you are good to go with the buttery smooth stabilization. So you might be asking yourself, why Sony and why not another company? Well, the answer to that is, well, there's a couple answers actually. Long-lasting battery. They have one of the longest lasting in the industry, as far as I'm aware. And this is actually due to a new battery system they use in their new cameras, like the ZV-E1, called the Z battery. Or there's some other name like FPZ, NP something 100 or whatever like that. Anyway, it's a larger battery and it lasts way longer, and you've got pretty much a full day of vlogging if you are, not vlogging literally everything. If your camera is just sitting on, you've probably maybe got half a day, but that is still a massive improvement to their old batteries. And compared to, competitors, you've got an edge on them that will keep you running for the entire day, basically. Another reason to choose Sony is their unparalleled autofocus. This is probably one of the #1 reasons to go with Sony when you want a vlogging camera. Because vlogging in every scenario is when you whip out the camera and you are about to immediately film something because you want to capture something that's going on in front of you or something that you're doing. So you either want to film yourself or you want to film something in front of you, and the last thing you want to think about is this in focus? Am I in focus right now? Do I have to push a button again to focus myself? Can I not just hold it out and, oh no, it's not, okay, I gotta tap it again. Okay, there we go, now I can start. That is the last thing you want to be doing, and Sony's autofocus all but eliminates, and that is a weird saying, but it completely eliminates basically the need to ever worry about autofocus. And I'm speaking from personal experience here. So another reason to choose Sony is actually their lightweight camera bodies. And there are a few cameras in particular that I'm referring to when I say this, because not every single camera in their lineup is obviously designed for vlogging. But the ZV-E1 is, however, designed for very portable usage and, heavily marketed for vloggers. So what they've done is they've made the body out of a hard, durable plastic. Now I know what you're thinking, I really wanted a metal camera. Why didn't they make a metal version of this? Well, actually, metal is heavier, people. Metal is much heavier than plastic, and the quality of the build of this camera is actually amazing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's perfect. It has no creaking or squeaks or anything like that, like you might expect plastic to have. It has nothing like that. It is a quality made product and all the pieces are in place to make this a really nice camera. Now, the other reason you might want to choose a Sony ZV-E1 though, this is getting more specific for the camera and not just the company, is because there is an extra level of low light performance in the ZV-E1. Because not only does it have a full frame sensor, which already takes in more light, but it has a very specific sensor that they only use in one other version of their cameras, I believe, the FX30, something like that, one of the FX cameras. And this camera is designed for video, so they have a video sensor in there, which inevitably is able to take in way more light than you'd expect a normal sensor to be able to do. So this has come in handy many, many times for me because Japan is dark sometimes in certain areas. Sometimes you just want to get a really nice low light shot. And with the ZV-E1, you can do that. Some other features you might like in the ZV-E1 are the flip out screen. Classic flip out screen, it's right over here to my side and I'm looking at myself right now. That is perfect for vloggers. Most of their cameras do have the flip out screen now. Of course, this one does as well. There's also a built-in microphone and to my surprise, it is not as bad as you'd expect. They're trying to make it even easier for vloggers to just get straight into vlogging so you don't have to every time attach a microphone to your camera. The microphone in the camera is obviously not designed to be amazing like a specific microphone product that is for the only sole purpose of capturing audio, but it does a decent job and it comes with a wind muffler, or a dead cat, I should say. So that itself improves the audio even a bit more. But if you do want to improve your audio by getting a microphone for the camera, there is a designated audio in port for your microphone, so you can have a wireless mic like this, or you can have a hot shoe mount that this camera comes with, kind of interacts sort of wirelessly in a sense. Well, you don't use any wires, you just slide it in there. And this is a Sony specific microphone. You slide it in there, it activates. It's usually a shotgun mic. You plug it in by sliding it on and you're good to go because you turn it on and it's on. One thing I do recommend though is, as I spoke about batteries before, as much as you might have a full day of filming, and you very likely do because I very rarely changed my battery myself on my traveling, having an extra battery is some nice peace of mind, so I would recommend getting one, but you're only gonna need one extra one. That's it. Another question you might be asking is why not another camera in the Sony lineup like the a7C II? The a7C II seems very similar to the ZV-E1. Why not get that one? Well, it's at this point that you need to remember why you're buying the camera. You're buying it for vlogging, aren't you? And travel vlogging at that. So when you look at a comparison chart, you'll notice that the a7C II is a little bit heavier than the ZV-E1. And you might also notice, or you might not notice, that the sensor in the a7C II is different to the ZV-E1. And remember when I said before the ZV-E1 had a specific sensor designed to take in more low light and more for videography? That's the purpose of it. Well, the a7C II has a sensor that is more designed for hybrid use. So it'll do great with videography, but it'll also do great in photography. Whereas the ZV-E1 will do immensely, incredibly awesome at videography and decent in photography. So I don't know about you, but as a vlogger, I don't need incredible in photography. I only need incredible, or well, I want incredible in videography. I'm totally fine with decent photography. And the fact that it can still take photos is a testament to how useful it is, because obviously as a videographer and possibly a YouTuber, if that's another reason you might want this camera, is that you can still take great photos with this camera, but you'll take even better videos. And that is the main purpose of it, right? And that's why you want it. But yes, also don't forget that the ZV-E1 is lighter as well, and by a significant amount, maybe like 20, 30 grams, something like that, 35 grams. You'll notice it. Obviously, this was just a quick rundown of the camera, but I really wanted to recommend this camera for anyone who wants to start vlogging this year. This is one of the best cameras that I've ever come across for vlogging, and I've done a shit ton of research into cameras before purchasing this one, and of course I've used it and traveled with it. So I'm going as far to say this is one of the best, if not the absolute best, cameras you can get for travel vlogging. And not even full-on travel vlogging, but vlogging in general. You will not be disappointed with the abilities, capabilities, and features of this camera.